Hey there! Well, the weather outside is frightful, but inside it's quite delightful, and since I've no place to go, I might as well review a fountain pen. This is a pen that was sent to me by my friend Breck, and it's a fairly interesting story. He got two of these pens. They're Chinese pens. He got one, and if I remember correctly, the converter broke. So he contacted the seller and asked for a replacement converter, which is, not an indecent thing to do. And instead of getting a new converter, he got a whole new pen with a converter. So apparently it was cheaper to just take a whole new pen, ship it to him, from China, I'm assuming, than just sending a new converter. Interesting. Food for thought. So anyway, I got this pen because now he had two, and he said I only need one, so I got one, and I'm very happy with it because this is a pretty nice, decent pen. It came in this little pouch. I'm not sure whether the pen was actually shipped to him in that, or whether he added that for me. In any case, it's a nice little pouch. I can't show you the box because I don't have the box. I'm not even sure whether there was a box. I think Breck said it was sent in just a padded envelope. And a lot of these Chinese pens, even if I ordered a couple of them, and if I get a box, it's usually a very plain red or black cardboard box. There's not much to see there. This is the pen. It is a pen by Kaigelu. I have reviewed another Kaigelu pen at some point. I think that was the 357. And today we're going to talk about the 363. So I'm assuming these, the higher the number, the more luxurious the pen, or I don't know whether there's any logic in that. That's what I would assume. I'll cover the parts of the pen, tell what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then I'll do a writing sample. So I think this is a pretty interesting looking pen. It's slim, which is something the original owner likes. It feels decent. It seems to be all metal. It has a decent weight and feel to it. It has this interesting grayish color, which I think looks quite distinguished. I'm trying to hold that to the light so you can actually see some reflection on that. I think it's pretty decent and pretty neat. The cap, on top of it, has a little black thing. Nothing special there. It's a little bit of plastic. Then you get the nice little gold ring that keeps the clip in place. The clip is surprisingly nice. It's actually a two-tone clip. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but this part is silver. It has a kangaroo on it, the logo of Kaigelu, and then it has a gold clip. The clip is fairly springy, not so springy that you will bend it, not so tight that you cannot use it, so I think that's a very good clip. Then we have, on the cap here, I'm sure you cannot really read what it says, but there's a little kangaroo right there, and right next to it it says 363 Kaigelu. Maybe I should say Kaigelu, I'm still not entirely sure, but I'll just say Kaigelu because I think that sounds nicer. We have a little gold ring, a center band, I guess you could call it. Then we have the barrel, same material as the cap, and all the way to the end we have another nice little gold ring, and then a black end thingy once again. So I think this pen, for a lot of these Chinese pens tend to be on the cheaper end of the spectrum, but I think this actually looks pretty nice. You have the black, gold, and then the gray, gold, black. I think that's a very nice balanced look. I enjoy that. Now, Breck told me in his letter, let me see if I can quickly find that, when I tried to remove the cap, I found I couldn't. I mean, it was really, really on there. I finally got it off with sheer muscle power, removed the converter, blah, 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 blah. So what exactly is going on with the cap? Well, it sure is on there tightly. This will not fly off. I'm not going to flick it around because there's ink in there and I'll get ink in the cap, but it does require quite a bit of strength. And just listen to how this clicks in place. That's a serious click. I guess you could say serious clickage. And this is, I mean, I don't know. Breck thought that the cap may have been bent a little, and it looks like it is indeed not 100% round. But I think the issue is that there is, I mean, if you look at the section, I had to discuss that anyway, it's a black smooth plastic, not particularly slippery, but it doesn't really have any texture. And you have the nib, which is a nice two-tone nib. I'll come back to the nib in a second, but you see this gold thing here? That's the lip. And the lip keeps the cap in place. There is a little notch in the cap that I guess you have to push over the lip, and then it clicks in place. So it sort of does that. You see, it goes over the. How can I possibly show this? Now you have the lip, and it just the inner cap expands a bit and then clicks back in place over the lip. I think that's the best way to show it. I think that's what's going on, and apparently they have very tight tolerance here, creating that effect. But you know, I guess it's not bad if a cap sticks really well to the pen. But you know, it can be difficult to remove. Okay, the nib. I think the nib is surprisingly nice. The feed is just smooth black. I'm assuming plastic, not ebonite. Now it feels like plastic. But the nib is pretty nice. It's fairly small. It's not a really big nib, but it's a nice two-tone nib with that kangaroo on there. It says Kaigelu. And interestingly enough, I'm not sure how well you can see this, but it seems to really be folded around the section. The feed. I know this is not really going to focus, but maybe it will give you an idea, at least of the color. You see, the nib is really around the feed. I think that's a very nice feature. That looks pretty nice. Also, it has a sort of cloud-like wave thing going on there as it goes around the feed. So that's all pretty nice. When we open this up, we get the converter. This is the bad broken converter. What I did is you can pull this black thing off. I just put a lot of silicone grease in there, put it back on. You have a type of glue that doesn't really harden. That works. There's a little ball agitator in there. I don't know whether you can see that moving around, but it's actually in there, which makes sure that the ink doesn't stick to the end of the converter. If that happens, the ball agitator will make sure it's drawn back towards the nib end. It's just that you just push in the converter, nothing too fancy there. I do think it has that kangaroo thing, or used to have the kangaroo thing on there. It was there in white. I've just scratched it off with my nail. So, a little gold ring there, a little step down, and those are the parts of the pen. What do I like about it? What do I not like about it? Well, let's start with the things I like. For a Chinese pen, I think the nib is not extremely fine. Breck suggested at some point that it may well be the case that the Japanese pens tend to have very fine nibs, and the Chinese pens not so. And from what I see, I tend to agree with him. I'm not sure whether this was marketed as a fine nib, but it seems like a regular Western medium to me. So don't expect an extremely fine nib. I like that because I'm not a fan of fine nibs, so for me that's great. As I said, I think the pen looks nice overall. Some nice touches, some nice eye for detail. The two-tone clip is nice. It has a nice little nib. The nib is fairly smooth, gives you a bit of feedback, but not necessarily in a bad way. It's just there. Things I don't like, well, that cap removal thing, I can imagine that is not ideal for everyone. You really have to apply some pressure to it, and I can see how some people would not enjoy that. You know, might even find it difficult to open the pen. Clearly, that kind of defeats the purpose of having a pen in the first place if you cannot open it to write with it. You can post the pen. It gives you a nice, decently sized pen. You can even use it unposted if you like. It should be big enough for that. It seems to be pretty well balanced. There's not a whole lot I don't like about the pen. I guess some people would not like this gray and think it's dull. I think it's actually quite nice. So I don't really have any complaints. I think the best thing I can do is show you a writing sample. That's all there's to it. Thanks, Breck, for sending me the pen. I enjoy it. And that's all there's to it. So I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Okay, so here we go with the Kaigelu. Three, 6, 3. The nib, I would expect to have been a fine, but I would say this is a medium. It's definitely not extremely fine. The ink is Chinatown Red by Ackermann. I thought that always goes well with these Chinese pens, I think. It's a very nice bright red. Okay, let's do a bit of writing. pen wrote straight away. I haven't used it for a day, so this has been in a pen pouch all night. No startup issues, no hard starts, no skipping, it just writes. It's a fairly smooth writer. You get a little bit of feedback. I wouldn't call that scratchy. It's just a type of feedback that some people like and others don't. I notice it especially in these diagonal downstrokes. Those are smooth and those are a bit more feedback-ish. I guess you could solve that by just using a bit of micro mesh and smoothing it out if it bothers you. Let's do a bit of fast writing. See how well the feed keeps up. Well, I'd say that's fairly impressive. It seems to work well. I don't see any really large skips, maybe a little bit there, but I think that was also maybe the way I held the pen. It looks pretty good. Let's check out the wetness of the pen. As you can see, it draws a nice even patch of ink, not a lot of white in there. That looks pretty good. Reasonably wet, I would say. What about flexibility, line variation? Well, there's a little bit. Not a whole lot. I wouldn't call this a particularly flexible nib. You can see I can squeeze out some line variation, but I really have to do my best for that. So don't buy this if you're looking for a springy pen. Nevertheless, it's not completely bad. It's not as rigid as some nibs I've used, but it's not a true flex writer. And of course that wasn't really to be expected, but you know. So there you have it. I think it's a pretty decent pen. Not bad at all. So, Breck, thanks for sending it to me. I hope this review was useful. And I'll see you later. Bye bye.